And so you are remembering him, and every year you are having this event. And so I must congratulate all of you, because we must remember great souls who have been in this country, who have brought us to where we are today in terms of development, in terms of international stature. And remembering them will always be something which will be an inspiration for the future generations. Now, the topic given to me is the state of the nation. I know that the US President every year delivers the state of the nation. In Parliament, the President gives a joint houses, he delivers an address which is in effect what the state of the nation is. And so I think therefore for me to be given this honor, I'm especially grateful and thankful to you. I'll deal with three topics. First would be the idea of India and the Constitution, where we are today. The second thing would be on corruption in the state, in the country. And the third would be on the economic situation. As far as the state of the idea of India is concerned, let me first say that let us remember some of the things we have achieved. When India became independent, Winston Churchill said it will take 3 years for Indians to come begging to ask the British to come back because we'll be falling apart. Richard Nixon said India will one of these days break into 20 countries. And so dire predictions were made. There was a time in 1965 when American scholars said that India will never be able to feed itself, and there will be probably a huge famine in 1975. Well, by 1975 we had come to be called as a country with grain revolution, and everybody forgot those predictions of the previous 10 years. And today, whatever it is, whatever poverty we have, we are not in a state where we have to depend on anybody to produce enough food for our own selves. We have survived balkanization, which was predicted regularly before. In fact, we are probably the only country which hasn't balkanized. The Soviet Union has broken into 16 countries, and Pakistan is broken into 2, maybe in the future into 4. And you see Indonesia has broken up, and Yugoslavia broke into 4. So I mean, there are examples and examples of countries which nobody thought would balkanize, but they balkanized. But India has stayed together, and maybe expanded a little, and by getting Sikkim into our country, and maybe soon we might get the remainder part of Kashmir also back into India. So the India is a country which was huge, then it contracted, and ultimately now our idea of India has become firmly established. I think what's important to remember is that the democracy that we have today was never predicted by anybody. The opposite was predicted. During the emergency, it was said that now this is the way third world countries go, and India is one of them. And I was that time in an active role in opposing the emergency. I had in fact escaped abroad at the request, at the suggestion of Jayaprakash Narayan, and campaigned there, because if you campaigned abroad, then the BBC and the Voice of America would carry, and that would defeat the censorship in our country, and people could hear the news. So when Mrs. Gandhi declared elections in January 1977, all my colleagues at my old university, where I had been given back my old position as professor of economics at Harvard, they told me, don't go back. No third world country ever gets back a democracy. This election is really for legitimizing Mrs. Gandhi. And all your party people are in jail. Why go there and then end up in jail? And they also said, must remember that democracy is really for educated population, educated nations. with such a large unemployment, large illiteracy in your country, how do you expect that people will vote against Mrs. Gandhi? When the results came out, the whole world was surprised because the more educated parts of India, namely Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka and Andhra, voted for Mrs. Gandhi. And the most uneducated part of India voted her out, including defeated her in her own constituency. This is the culture that is there, the underlying culture, unalloyed by Western influence, which has preserved this country for such a long time. The UNESCO had listed 46 civilizations, and 45 of them have disappeared, like the Greeks, the Romans, the pharaohs in Egypt, Mesopotamia, Babylon. The only civilization which is a continuing civilization, according to UNESCO, is India. And we have this unbroken continuation of our cultural history. So we are essentially in a state where we have demonstrated that we are a country, a genuine country. With all its differences, we managed to stay together, and we stayed together in a democracy. So now when we go look a little ahead and the state of the nation, today we have serious problems. Of course, serious problems have been coming and going. But today, for example, we have demonstrations in big way the last 2-3 days, and told this will continue for some time. And it's based on what we have to now learn to manage, and I'm glad that Surya Prakash is here, because it is his department which is at mischief.